How's everybody doing today? Welcome back into the channel. Today we have a bit of an interesting video for all you. We're going to be doing a real-time draft for you guys to show you guys my draft strategy. I chose to do it with the Dolphins because they have a lot of needs, player needs, and so hopefully we can go about filling those needs and addressing those. And in addition to that, they have a lot of draft capital. So if you don't know, but I'm sure you all do. If you look at the Dolphins draft picks, they have 3 first-round picks, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fifths, 3 sixths, 3 sevenths. And so, short of the story is, they have a lot of draft picks, gives us a lot of examples of what to do in different situations, and ways to take advantage of the draft and get yourself the most out of your draft. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to note, and this is super simple, is how many players can you actually fit on your team through the draft? You know, most of the time you go through off season and you get your team to a decent spot. You sign some players, you release some players, you get your team to a spot where you want them to be. And you can only have 53 players on the roster. And so it's going to tell you here on your adjust lineup screen how many players out of 75 you have, but really you want to know out of 53 players how many you have, because you're going to want to keep all those players on your team. There's no point in really bringing guys in just to cut them. So right now I can fit a total of 9 more players on my team. 44 plus 9 equals 53. That's my roster limit. So that's the first thing you want to know, is how many players can you fit on your team through the draft. 9 players, most teams will be able to fill up 7 of those spots because your base draft picks are picks 1 through 7. However, the Dolphins have more draft picks, and so I have to take that into consideration. Am I going to draft players potentially that can't even go on my team? And so you'll see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 draft picks. I have 14 draft picks to fill 9 spots. Now that presents a complicated situation, but it's really not as difficult as it might seem. Don't waste your time drafting all 16 or all 14 of those players. Maybe draft a couple extra in case you get a bust here or there and you want to have an extra shot at a player. You want to draft a couple players at a specific position and have the best chances of getting a successful draft pick out of that. But what you can do, there's a couple different draft strategies, and I'm going to get into that here in a minute, and that is, in the draft, you can try and consolidate your picks to trade up. So say I want to get an extra 6th round pick, I can maybe trade 2 of my 7th round picks to get a 6th round pick or something like that. Nothing crazy. Maybe I want to move up a couple picks in the first round. I can package in my extra picks to move up a couple spots in the first round and still have 9 draft picks left over in order to be able to fill my roster spots. In addition to that, you can trade away picks. And when I show you in the draft here, there will be a lot of opportunities where teams offer you really good deals to move back in the draft. They might offer you a 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick for your 1st round pick, and you only have to move back a couple spots in the draft. That happens quite a bit. And so that's how you can deal with having extra draft picks. Like I said, I have 14 draft picks. I only have 9 roster spots. I'm not going to want to waste 5 draft picks on players that aren't going to be on my team. You know what I mean? Maybe 1 or 2 that can be in there for competition during preseason or something like that. But for the most part, you don't want to draft that many extra players. And so that's why the Dolphins are a good example of knowing how many roster spots you have to fill versus how many draft picks you have and making a plan accordingly. Now, the next thing that you're going to take into consideration before we jump into the draft here is your actual roster. And this is going to be my first time looking at this roster. I had everything on auto, so I think my team signed players for me, but we'll see when we jump in here, and we're going to real-time evaluate what this team needs. Now, obviously, looking at the board here, I need every single offensive line position, which can be a little bit difficult to address. Now, you're probably not going to get all 5 offensive linemen in one draft. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to address which players I would be willing to live with at their specific position. So I'm going to address these guys one by one. This guy's 23 years old. He's a 65 overall. So I think I would be willing to live with him at left guard. So maybe I only need to fill 4 offensive line positions. But then I would go through my other offensive line positions. That guy's 23. He's nice and young. This guy's 26 years old, and this guy is 28 years old. So I'm definitely going to want to replace these 2. I don't have a center over here that I'm willing to roll with, and so I'm looking for at least 3 offensive linemen, if not 4, if not 5, that could start on my team. So that's going to be a heavy draft position for me. Next, I'm looking at tight end. My tight end's pretty good. Mike Gesicki's a nice young tight end, a good receiving threat, a decent blocker, 24 years old. I'll be able to turn him into something good. I'm sure you guys would be able to too. So I'm sure you guys would probably also look at this and say, okay, I don't need a tight end. Maybe a backup tight end if late in the draft I find somebody that's a steal. Likewise with the receiver position, our receiver position is decent. You know, Devontae Parker is a nice young talent. Well, actually, he's not that young anymore. He's 27 years old, but he's a nice like 2 or 3 receiver. We're looking at Albert Wilson. He's maybe a nice 3 receiver, so I would be looking for maybe one more receiver to throw into the mix, but it's not the biggest need, and the reason being is that I have an 80 and a 77. I can get by with an 80 and a 77, and Jakeem Grant's a speedster. You always want to have one of those on your team. He's at 96 speed. I would be okay with this receiving core, and I'm sure a lot of experienced players would be okay with this receiving core. That's not going to be my primary focus in this draft. I'm going to be looking at the fact that I need to address the O-line. Obviously, I need to address the halfback position because a 65 overall is not going to get it done. I need to address the quarterback position because while I think I might be able to turn Josh Rosen into something, I want to bring in some competition at that position. So I've already addressed 3 positions here that I need to bring somebody in to help address the position. So 3 offensive linemen, a quarterback, a halfback. I could possibly bring in a fullback. I know a lot of people like to overlook that position. I personally would enjoy bringing in a better fullback, and so there are some good positions there on offense for me to target when we hop into this draft. Now, defensively speaking, what do we need? Gerald McCoy, good defensive end, a little bit older, so I could maybe look for a young defensive lineman to kind of jump in there and help out. Christian Wilkins, a nice young star. Godchaux is a nice D-tackle. We have 2 decent D-tackles, so not really looking for a D-tackle, but I could look for somebody particularly good. Our team added Kendall Fuller in the offseason, which is really nice for us, because now we have a really nice pair of corners out there with, or is that Kyle Fuller? Kendall Fuller? Kendall Fuller, yeah. And we have Xavier Howard at the other cornerback spot. So we don't have to really worry about the cornerback spot. Maybe bring in a 3rd guy for competition. Safety spots, Rashad Jones is old. Bobby McCain is decent, so we could be looking to add a safety here in this draft. And then we do have a young, kind of fast linebacking core. I would maybe be looking to add like 1 linebacker to this core, 1 like good starter to this linebacking core. And so basically what I'm looking at is out of my however many picks, I'm looking for 1 safety, 1 linebacker, 1 defensive lineman, 1 corner. That's 4 players on defense. I'm looking for 3 offensive linemen, so that takes us up to a total of 7. I'm looking for a quarterback, which takes us up to a total of 8. And I'm looking for a halfback, which takes us up to a total of 9. So without even doing a whole lot of work, I've now gotten us to our 9 draft picks, and we have a plan going into the draft. Those are the 9 positions that we are looking to fill. We have our plan moving forward. I highly recommend you guys have a plan of which positions you're targeting going into the draft. Now, on top of that, there are some things to note in that if we draft an offensive lineman, depending on what league you're in, you can move linemen back and forth between positions. So just because I draft a left guard doesn't mean they can't play center or left tackle. Offensive linemen move around a lot in the NFL. If they are young, they will move around quite a bit. You know, great examples of that would be guys like Lyle Collins, who has played both guard positions, both tackle positions. He's moved around quite a bit in the NFL. The Steelers do it all the time. And so depending on what league you're in, if you're in a league that doesn't allow it for team building purposes, then you might have to target specific positions. But if you are in a league that allows position changes, then feel free to draft any lineman of your choice. And likewise with positions of like linebacker, you can move guys from inside to outside if your league allows it. You can move guys from corner to safety if your league allows it. So just keep those things in mind that, you know, maybe I don't need to draft a safety per se. I could draft 2 corners and move one of them to safety or something like that. So that will help us moving forward. Like I said, those are the 9 positions that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and jump into the draft and start looking at what my draft strategy would be. Now we're first overall. I'm going to pause the draft. This is where I want to show you guys what the value is you can get out of trading away your picks. So we have the first pick. Let's review what offers are there on the table for us. So the Redskins are offering us pick 4, pick 10, and 3rd round pick 74 for the first overall pick. Now you have to weigh that, whether that's beneficial to you or not. Maybe you need that first overall pick for the best quarterback in the draft, but what I'm looking at here is 2 top 10 picks for my number 1 overall pick. That looks like a great advantage to me. That's going to add draft numbers to my end. I'm going to have too many picks again, but that allows me then to have extra draft capital later on to keep moving up and packaging picks in the draft. So what I want to consider then is the players that are on the board and the people that are drafting after me. The Giants have potential to draft a quarterback if they consider Daniel Jones not to be their future. Sometimes Madden does it, sometimes they don't. So they could be taking a quarterback. The Bengals need a quarterback. They'll probably take a quarterback. The Redskins might or might not be considering taking a quarterback. And so if we move back to that spot, we risk taking the fourth best quarterback in the draft. Now we have Rosen, who I certainly believe out of this opportunity isn't necessarily the worst player that we could get. And actually, it turns out here that these quarterbacks in this draft don't appear to be very good. So I wouldn't mind moving back in the draft because the players that we need aren't there at the draft picks that we have. We could go ahead and take one of these halfbacks, but I'm sure one of them will be there whenever we roll around to the fourth pick. We could take one of these wide receivers, but I'm pretty sure that these guys are going to be here whenever we move on to the fourth pick. So I'm going to actually take that offer from the Redskins because I firmly believe that getting an extra top 10 pick is going to benefit us. All right, so let's go ahead and jump forward to our pick. They picked a middle linebacker, which is fine. We didn't need that guy. The Giants pick a D-end, which is fine. We didn't desperately need that. They take a D-end, and we're back on the board. And so as you guys can see, we took the advantage there by taking that draft offer. We now have our choice of any player that we want. We didn't lose out because all the players that we still want are on the board, and we now have an extra bonus first-round pick. And that's how you can do things here in this game, is you can take advantage of things like that. Now, I'm going to be looking at offensive line real quick just to see what is what. And as I go, I also want to kind of highlight players that I think are good. So a good idea is anytime you see a guy that has a higher draft grade than where they are projected to go, highlight those players with triangle. So this guy is a third-round projected grade, but he's a first-round talent by that little green diamond that shows first round. That's a guy that I'm going to be looking to take early on. Same with a guy like Sean Reynolds. He's a first-round talent, but it's showing that he's a sixth-round pick, which is really nice. Same with a guy like Jacoby Thompson. So we can get away with taking some offensive linemen later on. It looks like Andrew McKee here could be a really good talent for us. So we're going to add him in. Going to add in Jimmy McKinney. And I will start to get in later on to showing you guys what some of the traits really mean here for a player. This is a guy, this might be my pick here. And I want to tell you guys exactly why. I'm looking at this guy. If you ever see a player with over 40 reps on the bench press at offensive lineman, you need to draft that guy, period. You need to draft that guy. Reason being is strength is everything with offensive linemen in Madden. He's 22 years old. He's 6'8", which means he's an absolute tank. And he's got 41 reps on the bench press. Whenever you see that, that's absolutely absurd, because when you look at guys like James Montgomery, he's got 32 reps on the bench press. That's considered high. If you see a guy like this, that's an absolute steal in the draft. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now evaluate some of the other positions. This guy has an 8.0 combine grade. Holy crap, I want to take that guy. I don't know if he's going to be good or not, but you rarely see a combine grade that good. 8.0, he is first in everything for his combine report. First 40-yard dash, first bench press. That guy is a guy that I'm going to be targeting. Now what I want to do is I want to back out of that and go back into the make your selection screen and see who is highest overall out of those players. We've got this right guard who's high overall, Andrew McKee. He looks like he'd be pretty good. And it looks like that safety isn't going to go super high, which is nice for us. It looks like this offensive lineman is going to go a little bit lower. We have a whole bunch of first-round picks, so it might be best for us to just take the best available player for us. Could be the right guard, could be the halfback. I want to look at his combine grade, just see what his 40 time is, 4.48, so he might be a little bit slow. Good carrying, good elusiveness, good juke move. Let's look at the other halfbacks and see if there's worthwhile taking one later on as opposed to that one. 4.52, so it's a little bit slow. 4.42, that guy looks a little bit better. Carrying, ball carrier, vision, juke move. Now I think this guy's the way to go. So we're gonna take we're gonna take Hamilton. Morgan Hamilton, I believe it is. Moses Hamilton, the guy that is the highest on the board for us right now, and hope that he is good. That's a good pick. He's a 77 overall. He's 22 years old with a hidden gem talent, 90 speed. What's his trucking? 64 trucking, so he's more of a speed back. That's good for us, an elusive back. So let's go ahead and advance forward to pick 10. So they took a defensive end, which is fine. And lots of defensive end going, which benefits us big time. Andrew McKee's gone, which is fine. That's that guard that we were going to take. Oh, they traded me pick 10 in the next year's draft. So let me go ahead and make a trade to move up. Now, this is going to be a good example of how you can consolidate your picks to move up. So what is my next pick in the draft? I have pick 16. So what if I want to take pick 26 and move up? Who has one of the next draft picks? Pick 24. The Browns have pick 15. 31. Pick 12. So the Colts have pick 12. What would it take to move up from pick 26 to pick 12? Well, let's evaluate here. We could toss in a second round pick. We could toss in that extra first round pick that we got next year, maybe our 25th overall pick next year, and see if that's enough to move us up. I think that might be giving up a little bit too much. Let's throw in a second round pick and see if that's enough to bump us up. That gets us close. Now, this is a strategy that you guys want to try yourselves. When you're trying to make a trade in the draft or at all, you want to evaluate the bar. And so we're really green on this trade bar. We're close to getting it done. So I recommend throwing in a low pick and increasing it, one pick at a time until it gets you to a point where they accept it. So that gets us a little bit closer. So instead of the 5th round pick, we're going to go with the higher 5th round pick and see if they take that. They're not going to take that. So maybe let's go with a next year's 4th and see if they'll take next year's 4th round pick. And if they don't take that, then we'll move up to like next year's 3rd, next year's 2nd, or something like that. Let's go with next year's 3rd round draft pick, see if they'll take that. There we go. And we didn't have to overpay for it. We were able to go up one at a time and move up the draft board one at a time, or move up our draft pick one at a time to find out what the lowest value is that we would need to trade away. I don't know who was picked before me. That's kind of a problem because I accidentally hit sim to pick. But let's go ahead and make our next pick. We got wide receivers available, halfback available. The right tackle is available that we want. So we're going to go ahead and take the right tackle because this guy looks like an absolute monster. He's an 80 overall power lineman, instant impact player for us. 93 strength, absolutely unbelievable. 84 run block, 80 pass block. That's the type of guy that you're looking for in your draft. Absolutely 100%. And this is going into this draft without any knowledge of what actually is going on. Now we're going to be targeting that safety.
The Browns are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Pick a player, and we're going to take that safety that we're looking for. So 8.0 combine grade. I'm just impressed by his combine. He's got to be super fast. I don't know if he's going to be great.
The Jaguars.
There we go. Hidden gem talent. 95 speed for a safety. Those are the types of things that you're looking for. You're looking for good combine grades and stuff like that. Now, what picks do we have left? First things first, if you want to look at your draft board and see what you've taken up to this point, you sort it by L2, and you go down to drafted, and you can see what you've drafted. We've answered our halfback position, we've answered our right tackle position, we've answered our free safety position. Now, the other things that we wanted to answer, a couple more O-linemen. We want to look for a quarterback maybe later in this draft, and things like that. So we're going to just keep at it and get to a nice, comfortable spot here. We're just going to go to next user pick and evaluate from there.
Dolphins are now on the clock.
Round 2, pick 1. So we are looking for more offensive linemen. We already got a halfback, which we shouldn't need to pick up anybody else at halfback, obviously. Quarterback, I'm looking at taking one of these guys now. I mean, this guy, it says that he's a 3rd round talent, but he's got A+ throw power, which to me says that we could turn him into a valuable player. I don't have any scouting information on the other guys, so I'm going to maybe wait on that and just look at these other positions. Wide receiver wise, not looking at anything right now. Okay, there's a first round offensive lineman still available here. Late first rounder. 33 reps on the bench press is nice. 35 reps on the bench press. 33 reps, so those guys we're going to be looking for later on. The center's a first round pick. 3rd on the bench press. And this right guard, no, this is the right guard that we wanted. Jimmy McKinney. So a lot of these guys that we were looking at before have not gone yet. So let's go ahead. I think I'm going to take, he's a 3rd round talent, or he's a 1st round talent, but not projected 1st round. So I'm going to take Jimmy McKinney first. There we go. A hidden development offensive lineman. Very good offensive lineman pickup for us. Let's go ahead and advance to our next pick. And hopefully I'm making sense with how I'm kind of evaluating these picks here. The center looks good for us. I'm looking at he's 35 reps on the bench press versus 30 reps on the bench press. So I'm probably looking at the left guard at this point. I also want to look at corners and linebackers. For some reason this is getting a little wonky. Oh, there's some good D tackles here. A- block shedding. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to take this guy. 39 reps on the bench press, A- block shedding. He's got to be good, right? 79 overall. See, now you guys, I believe, are going to start seeing some of the things that I'm looking for. Now, I want to see if I have another 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick. I don't believe I do. So I'm going to maybe want to trade back up. So yeah, I have all these 5th, 6th round picks. I'm going to try and consolidate those to move back up in the draft. So we're looking at 3rd round picks. Maybe like, let's try to trade to the Buccaneers, see if we could get theirs. And consolidate some of these picks, because we made a lot of great picks up to this point. So if I give you like a 5th round pick, 2-6, is that enough to get your 3rd round pick? Probably not, but worth a shot. That gets us close, so we'll take off the 6th and give them like next year's 4th maybe. Just kind of increase the value a bit. No, so next year's, how about next year's 3rd for your 3rd this year? Would that be enough? Yep, that'll be enough. That gets us pick, I don't know what pick number. Pick number like 10 in this round.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
So we found that really good D tackle now. That was a good D lineman. I couldn't pass up on him. He was just too good. We're not looking at anybody in the secondary at this point. So we're going back to O-line, where we found a lot of good steel type players. That left guard is there. I think that'll be our pick. He's a 4th round guy projected. Yeah, he's 21 years old. So the difference I'm looking at between these two guys is their bench press rating and their age. So this left tackle, he's projected as a 4th rounder, and he's 1st round talent. He's got 35 reps in the bench press, which is very similar to the other guy who had like 31, but he's 23 years old, so you lose out on 2 years of development on that guy, whereas Sean Reynolds is 21 years old, so you get a bonus 2 years, and you're only losing 2 on the bench press reps. So let's go ahead and go with this left guard. 21 years old, 70 overall. That's better than what we have now. He's got 86 strength. He's got good blocking grades, so I'll take that all day long. Not the best pickup in the world because he doesn't have a hidden development, but we're in the 3rd round, so can you really complain? Now, let's reevaluate where we're at this point. Quarterback-wise, there are some quarterbacks left here, so we might be considering taking one of those next. Let's go and look at what we have drafted and then consider what we need to take going forward. So up to this point, we have drafted 3 starting offensive linemen for us, which answers our questions there. We've drafted 1 guy in the secondary, 1 guy on the D-line, and 1 guy at halfback, which kind of helps us out, answers some questions that we had. I'd like to go ahead and do a quarterback next because I think that that's what we need the most, or maybe a corner. So being that we still have extra draft picks, I'm going to continue to try and trade up in the draft. So let's go back to the Buccaneers. I'm just doing this for quickness sake because I know that they have a decent 4th round pick, and we're going to try and trade in for their 4th round pick. Maybe if we give you a 6th, a 7th, and a 5th. Would that be enough to move up? Probably not, but we'll try it. Yep, that's enough to get up to the 4th round. And we'll go ahead and advance to our 4th round pick and select somebody at that point.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
We're looking at quarterback. We're looking at cornerback. So this guy's got a good combine grade. Not extremely strong, but he's fast, which is nice to see. 24 years old, though. We'd be looking more for a field general. The thing that sucks on quarterbacks is if you don't have them scouted at this point, it's really hard to tell whether they're good or not. So that's kind of a failure in my part in terms of simulating. But aside from that fact, not too big of an issue. All those good corners are gone. Could be wise to take another offensive lineman or just start taking shots at quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and take one more O-lineman that we think is good here. 38 reps on the bench press, I'll take that. 68 overall is pretty good. 90 strength. That'll be a good, that's better than what we have now, actually. So let's go ahead and just advance forward, and then I'm going to show you guys what I call the shotgun strategy, which is literally just throw out all the picks that you have at a position that you need and hope for the best. So we're going to take all the picks that we have left, and we're going to draft literally every quarterback that we think might be good. Let's go ahead and go with Zachary Brooks here.
The Giants are now
and we're just going to keep going through with all these extra picks that we have, finding the best quarterback available.
The Dolphins
Thought we had a 6th round pick, maybe not. I want somebody that's strong. I want to see if there's like a... That guy has a good combine grade.
The Giants are now on
54. We're not going to be able to turn any of these guys into a good quarterback. So that is going to be one failure of the draft that we're going to have to live with, is that there really are no quarterbacks here because we didn't scout quarterbacks. QB. Let's go ahead and draft a receiver just for the sake of it. Just take this guy out of LSU that has... He's slow, never mind. Good way to find good steals late in the draft at like receivers, to look at their combine grade, look at their speed and stuff like that. This guy might be good because he's got a 4.4 40 and had good strength, so I think we'll go with that guy. 4.4, no, not him. 4.4 40-yard dash, good broad jump, good bench press. Could be a good receiver. 90 speed, horrible catching, so he'll be a practice squad type of player. So we didn't end up with the quarterback that we want. However, we did end up with a lot of good draft picks out of this draft. We did a good job of filling out our roster for the most part, and I want to recap kind of what we did and the draft strategy there. Unfortunately, there were no good quarterbacks in this draft from what I could tell, but we did get ourselves a starting running back. We got ourselves 3 starting offensive linemen. We got ourselves a starting safety, a nice starting D tackle. We got ourselves a lot of really good players in this draft, and I want to see about throwing power on one of those QBs. You know, honestly, if you're playing as the Dolphins, it's not the worst idea to continue to try and go through Josh Rosen because he does have star potential. It's not worth reaching on a quarterback unless you absolutely find it necessary. But like, Josh Rosen's still a pretty good prospect at 23 years old, 69 overall. He's got 89 throw power. And I think with the right talent around him, we could do quite a bit. And so we drafted the good halfback. He's a 77 overall with hidden gem. Could be star, could be superstar X Factor. Didn't do much at receiver, but at offensive line, we drafted a lot of good players. We have a good starting left guard now, 70 overall. I think the game froze. 70 overall, 21 years old. He'll develop. We got the center. Man, it's going slow. We got a center, we got a right tackle, and a right guard, I believe. So we got 4 starting offensive linemen for us. And you could probably already see, if we go into our lineup, Yeah, we're up to 54 players. I don't know if you guys can see the difference between the overall on the team, but we jumped up a massive amount in terms of overall by adding those players to the team. What you guys will see, the offensive line significantly better. We got 4 rookies starting, but 4 very good rookies, a hidden gem, an 80 overall, 70 overall, and a 68, but all very strong, very high potential players. We added the good running back to our team, so we filled out our positions that way, added some quarterback competition. We didn't add a linebacker, but a lot of those guys went early in the draft. We were able to add Goodson, this safety, who would be a fantastic pickup to any team, and we were able to add this, what I assume is going to be a superstar defensive tackle based on his stats, just based on how good he is. He's 21 years old with 94 strength. That guy's absolutely going to be a superstar in no time. So this team got significantly better through this draft strategy. Hopefully I can kind of help you guys along with the draft. Those are some of my draft strategies, is to know what positions you need to address, know how many picks you have versus how many roster spots you have open. Make sure that when you're drafting offensive linemen, you're focusing on their strength rating and their bench press, because you don't want to get an offensive lineman that has less than 80 strength. That's just not going to be helpful to you guys. You want to be looking for a guy like this, Sheldon Brackens, who has like 90 plus strength. Even though he doesn't have a good potential, he's just an absolute monster. He doesn't need good potential. He's a 93. You'll get him up to a 90 overall player in no time. Just an absolute tank at the offensive line spot. And that's what we drafted all the way across. You're going to want to look for guys that have a better potential than what the original projection on their draft grade was. So like a lot of these guys, like Brackens or like Reynolds, they were 4th round or 6th round projected players, but they were 1st round talent based on that green diamond that I showed you guys. And so you want to focus on drafting guys like that, because those are guys you can get in later rounds that are actually 1st round talented players, guys like this Jimmy McKinney. And that's going to help you fill out your roster quite a bit. Now, you can also trade down, trade up. As you guys can see, we benefited quite a bit by trading down in the 1st round. We had that 1st overall pick, but there wasn't anybody there that was particularly great in terms of fitting into our team. And so we traded down, we took the 4th pick, we took a 10th pick in next year's draft, and we were able to use that 10th pick to move up even higher in the draft and get the players that we need for the team. That's definitely something that you guys can do in your franchises, is take advantage of the system, because those, the AI are going to offer you trades for your draft picks that are just kind of crazy. They're going to offer you, absurd picks for what your pick is. And oftentimes it's more advantageous for you to take that trade down. We only moved down essentially 3 spots in order to pick up the same guy that we were going to draft either way. So it's very important for us to make sure that you're paying attention to the trade offers that you're getting. Make sure that you consolidate your picks to move up to get players that you specifically want. Like we had to move up to get Brackens and make sure that we secured him. And make sure that we secured players like Goodson at safety that we specifically designated while we were in the draft board that we wanted on our team. So don't be afraid to move up and move down in the draft by consolidating your picks or by trading back based on their trade offers. It happens all the time, and it will be extremely useful for you, beneficial for you. Hey, if you don't need anybody in the draft, keep in mind that you can trade away all of your picks and just build up tons of draft capital for the next season. So that can help you guys out tremendously. Hopefully this video helped you guys in some way, at least seeing real time what I do draft strategy wise. I would be really excited to play with this team because, as you guys can see, I added a lot of really good, powerful offensive linemen. Even the 68 overall that we drafted is young and has really good strength. He's going to turn into a good offensive lineman. He's a quick, 66 speed, 71 agility, 79 acceleration. That's a pretty quick guard. He'll be effective for us moving forward, and adding a nice young running back like that, adding some good players to the defense, very helpful in the long run. And hopefully this helps you guys out in some way. If it did, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave your comments down below. If there are any other additional tips that you guys would like to see for the draft or for scouting or anything like that, don't hesitate to ask me. But that's basically what my draft strategy is to fill positions of need. And if those positions that you need aren't there in the draft, then trade down or trade up or whatever you need to do in order to fill your positions of need, because there's no point in me drafting a player I don't want or can't use with that first overall pick when I could just trade back a couple picks, get a different player, and get some extra draft capital to pick somebody else that we need. You know what I mean? That's my draft strategy. Hopefully it helps you guys out. And like I said, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys have a great night. See ya.